So what are you doing?
Nothing.
Nothing? Why not?
I'm trying to get on this Lifestyle Radio website.
Sounds like a cool website.
Yeah, it's alright. Oh, wait, I might have it.
You might have it.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
The opinions expressed during this show are those of the individual participants and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of their associated organizations or Lifestyle Radio.
Good afternoon and welcome to Pottawa, episode 8, brought to you by Cannabis Growing Consultants Braun Solution. That's AUN, by the way. Providing you with the knowledge to provide for yourself. You can find them on Instagram at The Braun Solution. Well, it's been a busy week. A lot to unpack. First thing we're going to start with is 420 in Ottawa, anyway. Not sure what's going on in other cities. I know that Dana Larson's got a big thing planned for Vancouver, down on the beach. And I know that Chris Goodwin is trying to sort something out for Toronto. Can't use Nathan Phillips Square or something. Might be using Dundas Square again. But we had a really complicated situation going on here in Ottawa. Now, as many of you know, 420 in Ottawa started organically in Majors Hill Park, which is just a public park, which sits kind of between the Chateau Laurier and the eyesore of a U.S. Embassy on Sussex Drive. So it's a lovely park, huge area in the middle, lots of trees, lots of benches and tulips and flower beds and things. It's very, very, very nice. One of the nicest spots in all of Ottawa, frankly, which is saying something. And because for all of its boringness and dullness and podunkery, Ottawa's a very lovely looking town. It's quite picturesque. And we've got a lot of nice parks and bike paths and crap like that. So it used to happen over there, but then, people thought, well, we should protest on Parliament Hill. So around 2006 or 8 or something, we started having 420 events on Parliament Hill if the weather was nice. And that would result in these split crowds. People would go to Majors Hill Park, they'd go to Parliament Hill, sometimes they'd check each one, over the course of the afternoon. And then in 2012, the police stopped letting people go to Majors Hill Park at all. And 420 has been happening on Parliament Hill ever since 2013, 14, 15, 16, 17. Now, in 2015, it was teeming rain, but still 2,000 people showed up. 2016, it was organized by a person, and I was there, and I thought it was kind of sloppy because people were clambering up all over the stage. Well, steps, but it's basically the stage. Stone teenagers hanging out with people's instruments and stuff and computer equipment. So not cool. So right then and there, I decided on April 20th of, 2 years ago, I decided that's it. I'm doing next year. So we did 2017. It wasn't just me. I was just the event coordinator. I mean, it was, Patients' Lives Matter, which is a group of us, loose affiliation of patient activists here in Ottawa. There's Ming Saad and Sean McAleese and Alex Newcomb and Nathaniel Newton, Wayne Robillard, a handful of others. And, we got it done. We happened to get the PPS to put some rail up, and we put a stage there. We had speakers, and it was a fun time. So this year, right after 420 last year, I sent in my permit application, and they said, yeah, sure. But then when I, called to confirm about it and stuff like this in January, they're like, yeah, you can't use the left half of the east half of the lawn because it's wrecked, and you can't use the steps. So we're like, oh no. So we were worried about what was going on. And we went and met last Wednesday with the PPS, with our CMP, with Ottawa Police Service. And we had a nice chat. And we got some things sorted out. Finally, yesterday, we finally got confirmation that we're going to have the entire west half of the lawn. Nothing on the east half of the lawn is of any use to us. And we get the steps and electricity. So we're going to have a nice railed in area for a VIP section, staging section, and the crowd's going to be on this one half of the lawn, which shouldn't be a problem because frankly, if you look at any of the footage, about 80% of the audience is actually on the east half of the lawn anyway, so they could probably all fit on one half of the lawn. The difference this year we're anticipating is a much, much bigger crowd. The weather is supposed to be partly cloudy and 8, which is pretty damn nice for Ottawa in April. And it's on a Friday afternoon. And, of course, there's word of something like legalization happening this summer. So there's already rumors going around that this is the last 420 on the Hill and no more 420s after legalization and blah, blah, blah. So we're preparing for 20,000 people. And if we get less than that, great. If we get more than that, wow. But I think realistically that's the most we'd ever possibly get downtown in Ottawa. And I think it's better to prepare for 12. Better to prepare for 20 and get 12 or 15 than prepare for 12 and get 15 or 20. The Ottawa Police Service is going to be at the entrances of Majors Hill Park. I'm sure with they see little families and tourists and stuff going through the gates, they're not going to say anything. But when they see little clusters of bleary-eyed teenagers, they're going to, whoa, you guys, no, that's over on Parliament Hill. No Majors Hill Park for you guys today. No 420 here. So, we told them when I was meeting there with Sean and Nate and the cops and everything, we said, if you don't put the cops there and stop that, you might get a little crowd forming on Majors Hill Park, and it's going to be bad PR for the police and for the organizers because, hey, why can't you keep all this in one pile, right? So as such, the eastern entrances are not going to be blocked, but they're going to be, sort of ushered further west to the central entrances. And all in all, we're expecting a really good time. The Yappers are going to be playing again. Probably, more toward the end of the session after 4:20 p.m. And we've got a roster of speakers lined up, people giving speeches. I'm pretty sure Heather Delicio from, I hope I pronounced that right, from Canadian Students for Sensible Drug Policy will be talking. Nurse Maddie Brown, who we had on the show one time here and on the Pottawa video as well. She's scheduled to talk. So, it's going to be a pretty serious thing. We're going to have, it's not going to be like, yay, pot should be legal, we love pot. It's going to be like, there's a lot wrong with C45. And the slogan is sort of Prohibition 2.018. This is just a rejiggering of prohibition. It's not actually legalization. And the more we examine the bill, C45 and C46, we realize that this is nothing like legalization, that it's a bamboozle, and hopefully the bill will be stopped or amended so dramatically that it's not even the same bill. I'm just going to cut to the chase here with a song. I'm going to jump right in with a song now because I'm kind of tired. It's been a long one. I got up at 4, and I've been adulting like crazy on this 420 situation and getting the show ready today and stuff. Mainly the 420 situation, and I'm kind of feeling burnt out. So I'm just going to play a song. This is I Remember by Zoe Bliss, I guess, from their album 13 April from 1998, and it's a beautiful song. Listen to it.
Hey, this is Cheech.
And this is Chong.
And you're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
What is it?
Lifestyle Radio. Say it one more time.
420 radio?
Ooh.
Hang up and try again.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
Okay, that was Zoe Bliss with I Remember from their 1998 album 13 April. Some other stuff about 420. If you're interested in sponsoring the event, then you can contact me, RUSSELLBARTH at primus.ca, and we'll help you get that processed. For $100, you get your name mentioned. You get your logo on the poster, which is going to be in all the advertising for the event, which is going to hit lots and lots and lots and lots of people. You get your name mentioned 4 times during the event on stage, and your logo will pop up several times during the live stream of the event. So if you're interested in sponsoring 420 Ottawa 2018, just give me an email, russellbarth at primus.ca, all lowercase, all one word, and just put 420 sponsorship as the subject line, and I'll direct you from where we'll go from there. So far, we've got quite a bit of sponsorship. It's going to be a good time. We're getting a lot of advertising because we want to see a lot of people there. A lot of the thing happens sort of in the 24 hours prior to. People are, should we go to that? I don't know. It's going to be big enough. Oh, yeah, we should go. So we're trying to spread the word that this could be a really big one. And when you tell somebody there's going to be a big crowd, a lot of times people go, oh, there's going to be a big crowd. We should go to that. And it ends up even bigger. So that's kind of what we're hoping to do here, is spread the word that 420 Ottawa is going to be the biggest ever, because it is. I predict that it will be. The biggest one ever, I would say, was probably 2013. Looks like there was good 11,000 and 12,000 people there. It was very, very busy on the hill that day. And hopefully we'll get lots of people this year because the weather's going to be nice. So now, some other stories that happened this week, interesting locally. Let's start with this one. A budding cannabis business designed for women. This is in the Ottawa Citizen. Oh, no, sorry, this is Ottawa CTV News. And there's an article and everything with and it's about how there's this woman outside of Ottawa called Kempville. And it's got a construction frenzy going on. They're building bloom rooms. And it's funny. You can go read the article. It's just called A Budding Cannabis Business Designed for Women. And it's in Ottawa CTV. And the thing that's interesting about this is how the tone of articles when they're talking about entrepreneurs is all very, well, isn't this great? Wow, this is really cool. And look at these innovations and stuff. The tone is totally different than when somebody gets caught with, more pot than they're supposed to have, or a medical grower's got more plants than they're supposed to have. They are regarded like they're some sort of dangerous, evil, criminals. Whereas these people who are going to be basically, corporations who are going to be commandeering the whole industry. Now, in this case, Renee Ellison is, one of the good people. She's one of the pot people. But this is the problem right now, is it's being taken over by corporations. It's being taken over by the corporate world. And I think that's a bad thing. I think that we're losing a lot of the sort of, the interesting things about the pot culture, about growing. We're going to miss a lot of the best talent. A lot of the best knowledge is all going to be pushed by the wayside because of these stupid government regulations. And a lot of people are getting down in the dumps about that. But I'm thinking, well, wait a minute. The only reason we're having these conversations, the reason C-45 is happening and C-46 is happening, is because people have been just openly dismissing cannabis laws for a good long time now. And the past 20 years, we've seen a ramp up of maybe not use, but public use and unapologetic use. So, still the same number of people seem to be using pot, roughly, but more and more people are open about it. And that's a good thing. So I think what's going to happen because of the opioid problem, because of old people being over-medicated and stuff, I think we're going to see pot just explode into the national culture. It's already happening in the States. We've got mainstream television shows that are talking positively about pot. And I think pot is going to be as big as coffee. There's one article I saw today. Let me see if I can find it in here. Well, for one, there's the severe restrictions will mean no celebrity endorsements for pot products. It's from Bill Blair. This is on Global News. And, of course, this is they're talking about how there's going to be no celebrity endorsements. You can't be, the law is explicit and clear that celebrity endorsement, lifestyle advertising is not allowed with cannabis. Now, that's going to be funny because how else are they supposed to sell it? They're not allowed to make any positive medical claims. They're not allowed to make any positive lifestyle claims. So basically it's like, this is cannabis. It's very dangerous. Please buy it. How are they going to market that? It's nonsense. So the companies that have people like the Trailer Park Boys and the Tragically Hip and, Kevin Smith and Snoop Dogg attached to them, they're going to be pushing, saying, no, this isn't cool. If Red Bull's allowed to sponsor events and Booze is allowed to sponsor events, then we should be allowed to sponsor events. And if they're like, oh, no, because it's like tobacco. Well, no, if it's like tobacco, make up your mind. Is it like tobacco? We can walk down the street smoking it like tobacco. Oh, no, you can't because it's an intoxicant. Well, then it's like booze. Then we should be able to advertise it like booze. So all of this stuff is going to have to be hammered out. It's not going to work out very well or very quickly. If Bill C-45 passes, it all really comes down to how they enforce it. Are they going to bother to enforce it? Will the cops just take the money and then bug a lot of people for 6 or 8 months and say, oh, let everybody know who's boss kind of thing. And then after a year or so, the enforcement will just drift right off to nothing. As Chris Goodwin predicts, he says it'll go from 80,000 down to 800 in the first year. I hope he's right, but I think these regulations are going to keep getting changed if they pass. I mean, if this bill passes the way it is, and it's not just the federal regulations too. You've got provincial regulations, like take Alberta, for example. Here's an article just came out, I think it was yesterday or today. April 9th. Kid-friendly names for pot shops not allowed under proposed Alberta legislation. Yeah, they're going to be all huffy about it, and you can't have pharma or medi in the names, and you can't have like cartoon characters or any kind of name that's going to be appealing to kids. Again, it's just going to be cannabis store. I mean, they're trying to stifle the whole thing in the guise of protecting the public because they know that this is going to explode into the public in a big, big way, and they can't be seen to be promoting marijuana, which to them is a terrible thing. The government, the same government that is ready to buy up pipelines so that they can push it through BC to the ocean, they're just falling all over themselves for oil, which we already know is destroying Alberta, destroying Canada, destroying the oceans, destroying the planet. But they're going to treat cannabis like it's way more dangerous than crude oil and make businesses have really boring names like Bob's Cannabis Store, and it has to be very drab on the outside, and you can't have any colors and stuff because we can't let it be appealing to kids. Oh my God, won't someone please think of the children? And none of these governments, and of course none of the media ever ask them about it, kids just buy pot at school. It's as simple as that. And whether pot's legally sold at some store or at a dispensary or at the monopoly store by the Ontario or Alberta government or whoever, or grown by people down the street, kids are going to keep buying it at school. They're just going to buy it off some friend they know if he's not actually at the school that day. So their rules and regulations are not coming with any kind of realism. And this is what's alarming is because the federal government especially, Trudeau was all like, oh, we're going to have fact-based, science-based legislation and fact-based policy making, all this kind of stuff. And nothing about C-45 is fact-based. It's all based on nonsense. The warning labels are like danger of schizophrenia and mental illness and stuff. None of that's been proven. Most of the science says otherwise. And yet that's what's going to have to be on the warning labels for all of these companies. So we'll see how it plays out because I don't see, I'm very, very pessimistic about the way the government's going to behave over the next decade in regards to cannabis and how they're going to try and treat Canadians, how they're going to try and treat the industry, how they're going to try and treat businesses, how they're going to try and treat consumers, users and non-users alike. And people are just going to keep balking. The thing I'm optimistic about is we haven't given up yet, and we've won. They're trying to dictate the terms of their surrender. We're not going to give up now. We're just going to keep pushing and keep pushing and keep pushing until we get what we want because they haven't got the manpower to do it. They've got the guns, but we've got the numbers. And that's something the government knows. So they're just dragging their heels and stalling like some kid throwing a tantrum who doesn't want to get in the back of the minivan. It's disgusting. And it's alarming because we've got a lot of people dying from opioids and fentanyl. And this gargoyle, this monster, this puddle of crap from the bowels of hell, our justice minister and our prime minister and our not our finance minister, but him too, but our health minister, this evil quack. They keep trying to scare people away from cannabis because they know it's going to reduce opioid use. It's going to reduce drug use of all kinds. It's going to reduce alcohol use. Here's an article. It's in CBC I think it was today. Let me just check. This is back from February 24th, actually, so never mind that. But we've got a problem with, the elderly are over-medicated. Too many pain pills, too many anti-anxiety medications, too many antidepressants, too many anti-inflammatories, too many heart, blood pressure lowering pills and heart rate increasing or decreasing pills, all this kind of stuff. And they're being turned into zombies. And our government is trying to scare people away from safer, cheaper, and more effective medicine like cannabis. It is completely beneath contempt, and something needs to be done. Unfortunately, the media is too drunk and biased and smirking the whole time to do anything about it. It's very disheartening. I'm going to probably be talking the ear off of some little Dutch journalism student who's here in Ottawa who asked to hang out with me on 420 and basically shadow me on 420 and talk to me afterwards. I'm like, yeah, okay, if you want. I'll talk to journalists who are students. Once they're established with Global or CTV and all this kind of crap, I just cannot be bothered. Not interested. Forget it. You're biased. I'm not going to give you any material anymore for you to twist my words on television or in your newspaper. So we're getting close to the bottom of the hour here. Half of the hour. Again, like I said, I'm kind of tired today because I got up really early. I've been working a lot on 420, so sorry if the show's not as great as usual. I want to talk a little about this, how C-45 is not going to be ready to pass. And here's a new article. This is on April 9th, just the other day. Senate Foreign Affairs Committee won't have time to fully examine how sweeping cannabis bill will affect international treaties. So the bill's being pushed through, and Senate Foreign Affairs Committee, and they're like, well, wait, we can't be just pushing this through. What's going to be, what about the treaties and stuff? So, again, it looks so much all the time like this government is keen on not having this particular bill pass. Do they want pot to be legalized? Of course they do, eventually. Now, the thing is, all of this hemming and hawing about the regulations and about maybe the Senate's not going to pass it and this kind of stuff. It's not doing any good for the pot stocks. They do tend to dip, but then they go back up again, and they dip again, and they go back up again. But the general trend over the past year or so has been upward. All of these companies are growing in scale, density, and number. So there's not really any reason that's not going to change. The medical access, they can barely keep up with what's going on now. So I think they're just going to continue to grow. And I think the more people press for medical licenses, the more people bug their doctors about it, the more people contact the media and talk about their stories, the more people come to 420 events and things like that, the more it's going to push into the mainstream culture. And there's a lot of fringe things that are now mainstream. For example, when I was 10 years old, computers were, a video game. Computers were things you saw on space science fiction shows. But to my wife, who at 10 years old was helping her father build computers, dropping solder and learning, binary coding, it was not a new thing. It was something she was learning. Like I was learning how to fix motorcycles and lawnmowers and stuff. She was working on computers. And that was a fringe thing for a long time. And then people started getting home computers, and it wasn't that many people, and it was kind of a luxury item because they were expensive. And then gradually, everybody got computers. So, and I watched that happen over the course of about a decade, from, say, 79 to 89, where computers pushed into the mainstream. And that's what's happening with pot. Now Now computers are an integral part of our life. They run our economy. They run most of our machines. They run our automated systems that used to have to be run by people. And we'd all be dead without our computers and our phones and our, none of us would manage without them. So I think pot is going to be like that. I don't think pot's going to cap out at 25 or 30 or 35% of the population. I think it's going to be like coffee. I think it's going to be like cell phones. I think you're going to see 60 to 70% of the population of North America using cannabis in some form, mainly or of the adult population anyway, using cannabis in some form before 2026, I would say. Less than 10 years. Less than 10 years, you're going to see a huge amount of people using pot, and we're going to use up huge tracts of land to do it, and it's going to be a huge thing. And we're going to have to, we're going to do it wrong because we do everything wrong. We farm wrong. We do everything wrong as humans, but we're going to figure it out, I guess, eventually. And it's going to be huge. On that note, I'm going to get into another song. From their 1989 album, Red Earth, here is Crash Vegas with Sky.
Are you looking for cannabis news, education, and people's opinions? Are you looking to learn what Canadian and international cannabis advocates are doing, not only now, but what got them to this point in their lives, and what does the future hold for them? Do you want to learn how patients are using cannabis as a daily medication, or learn how their cannabis use helps them with their medical condition? If you answered yes to any of these questions, then I'm going to suggest to you to tune in to Lifestyle Radio. Catch their live weekly shows and have your questions and concerns answered and find the experience you're looking for. Monday, catch your weekly news broadcast with the Reef Reporters. Then on Wednesday, get several hours worth of cannabis public education. We get things started with cannabis and coffee with Tamarawana. Then tune in and catch Pottawa with Russell Barth, who calls himself the world's angriest pothead. Finish up your evening with the award-winning Pace Radio Show with Al Graham and joint host Kim Cooper and Alicia Yashishin. No week would be complete without tuning into Friday night's program, the 420 Radio Show featuring Al Rapp and the 420 Radio crew, Mary Jane Baker and Marcel Gignac. Cannabis is a lifestyle, and you can catch all your cannabis lifestyle information right here at lifestyleradio.net or at our sister site, 420radio.ca.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
Tried to tell you
Okay, so that was Crash Vegas with Sky. Cool album. Another interesting story is we've got lots of former politicians and former anti-pot crusaders who are now jumping into the pot business. Down in the States, John Boehner has just joined up with some company, and he says, of course, his position has, quote, evolved on marijuana. Well, here in Canada, Joe Oliver joins an Israeli-Canadian medical marijuana startup. Yeah, he's the former finance minister under Stephen Harper, so he was Stephen Harper's sock puppet for a while. And, he's a scumbag because he's a Tory. And now he's involved with this new company, and it's called Volcani Agriculture Institute, a government-funded Israeli research center, Plant Extend or something like this. And it just shows the hypocrisy. You've got so many people now who were once in positions of, making laws or enforcing laws, saying, oh, no, pot's evil and pot's dangerous. And now when they can personally make money off of it, they think it's a great thing. And I think this is part of what's got me feeling a little bit more optimistic about it culturally, is when, guys in suits with gray hair are sitting in really fancy restaurants talking about how much their cannabis factory can output and how much money they're going to make. Well, that's kind of a start. That's a good thing, I suppose. But I think also it's going to be a case of we can't be disheartened by that, thinking it's just going to be all about corporations now. Pot grew up through the cracks in the sidewalk, even with the government throwing everything they had at it. It's never going to go away the way they want it to. It's never going to be regulated the way they want it to until they cooperate with us. We are the victors. We negotiate the terms of surrender. And this just proves that we're winning. People get all pissed off about things like Joe Oliver and other so-called Tory politicians getting involved in the new cannabis industry, and lots, so many Liberal Party connections to the ACMPR growers. You can't really get too disheartened because it just shows it's becoming mainstream. Pot is going to be mainstream. Maybe not smoking joints, maybe not doing dabs, but it's going to be in food supplements. It's going to be in soft drinks and lozenges and gummies and capsules and all kinds of cool things. And we are on the brink of something fantastic and huge. Now, one last thing and here's the article I wanted to talk about to just close out on this. This is from businessinsider.com, which I think might be in the States. Yeah, it's in the States. Okay. Legal marijuana could soon be a bigger market than soda. Can you mean amazing? Than pop drinks, than soft drinks. The legal marijuana is set to hit $75 billion by 2030, according to a note from analysts. And this is in the States. Okay. So we are about 1/10 of their population. So I think, by 2030, we could be looking at 7.5 billion. No, I think it's going to be a lot more than that. It's going to be a lot more than that. But these analysts, and these are not like optimistic stoner guys. These are the number math Poindexter, trend watcher guys. And they're saying, yeah, pot's going to be huge. Pot's going to be huge. And I think they're even underestimating it because they don't know. They're only looking at the numbers. They're not really examining it culturally. You see, people like myself, we have to look at the whole big picture. And culturally, pot is becoming mainstream. It's as mainstream as kale. And it's not controversial anymore. In fact, thinking it's bad is controversial. So that's something to be chuffed about. And, as we head toward 420, I think people should also be encouraged to treat the 420 season the way Christians and everybody treat